for giving me this opportunity. I was very humbled when he asked me to talk about my orthopedic journey. I thought there are many more, deserving and many big stalwarts in the audience and around the country who deserve to talk about their journey much more. But anyway, I'll try to do justice to my talk, my orthopedic journey I'm going to share with you, and thrills and frills associated with it. When I have structured this talk as per the guidelines given by Dr. Prakash, and when I set to think what should I talk in this talk, I thought first I must talk about history and evolution of orthopedics. Only then I can consider my journey on this canvas of orthopedics. Friends, as we all know, orthopedics, the first training program was started about 100 years back in Liverpool by the name of MCH Orth. And it was only after the Second World War, the first training program started after First World War, and it was only after Second World War, about 80 years back, that orthopedics took birth as a separate specialty. And during last 80 years, we have grown, our practice has changed with the influence of technology, and every 20 to 25 years there has been significant shift in our practice from manual alignment starting, and now we are talking of robots and artificial intelligence. Whenever a new technique comes, it takes about 5 to 10 years for refinements and perfection. And for generalized use, it takes another 10 to 15 years. The specialty itself has grown leaps and bounds. 100 years back, we were a part of general surgery. 80 years back, we became a separate specialty. And today, we have 10 subspecialties. We have branched into 10 subspecialties, and there is gradual disappearance of general orthopedics, and that is how we are growing. Now, what has been my association? My association has been close to 50 years, and I consider myself as a passenger on this train of orthopedics. And it has been a long time. I've seen quite a few things evolving with time, and I'm going to share with you the journey of 50 years in 25 minutes. So that is going to be just a quick glimpse about my orthopedic journey. Now, I was lucky to go around the world during these 50 years, have worked in many continents and countries, and though my journey actually started in Varanasi as a resident, and that is how I was when I started my residency in Varanasi. From Varanasi, I went to Sevagram, Kabul, I was posted, came back to Ludhiana, went to United Kingdom, worked there, trained there before that. Then from United Kingdom, I had fellowships in America and fellowships in Switzerland before again I came back to Ludhiana and I'm settled there. All these 50 years, I've shown you what I was when I started, and this is what I am at the end of 50 years.
1 minute, doctor.
Friends,
doctor, 1 minute. Sorry,
during
doctor.
these...
Doctor, sorry. Just give me 1 minute. All my fellow attendees in the stall, we can definitely purchase whatever is available there in some time. Can all of us listen to this in silence, please? A kind request, please maintain silence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
So during these 50 years, 5 decades, I developed 2 side hobbies. Early days, I became a mountaineer. I developed love for mountains, and this is me with my team of mountaineers at a virgin peak which we climbed more than 23,000 feet high. And lately, I've developed passion for golf. And these 2 side hobbies have helped me break the monotony of professional life, which sometimes creeps into it, howsoever you may love. So, early days, why I joined orthopedics? Simple reason. It was the best department with the best teachers at our institute, and that was because of Professor Tully. Professor Tully is the only reason why I joined orthopedics, and he continues to be my mentor till date. Apart from that, the other thing which attracted me to orthopedics, that it was both medicine and surgery. Many colleagues were deciding either they should join medical branch or surgical branch, and orthopedics was both. So nothing better than that. Residency was tough. Day 1, Professor Tully told me, Sunny, orthopedics is your first wife. It will always be at your service, so be loyal to it. And that relationship continues. Now, these were tough days. Apart from orthopedics, we learned many things, aptitude for academics, research work, and many life lessons and interpersonal skills, all because of Professor Tully and his team of excellent teachers around him. Friends, that prepared us for the life ahead. And the independent orthopedic practice has been about 45 years, and that has been real fun. And I call it a long love affair. During this love affair, I have had variety of romantic link-ups, small love affairs along the side, where I developed passionate interest in various aspects of orthopedics. So I will quickly go through that. I won't have much time as to what I did with these love affairs. The first one was external fixation, and I call it my adolescent love, because it was only at 30 years of age I was posted by Government of India through All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Afghanistan, where I was confronted with huge amount of war trauma. And at that time, the limbs were being amputated by general surgeons to save the lives. And we had this challenge to save limbs as well as the lives. And we started doing, during the course of managing these war trauma, in very, very primitive condition where even a screw or Steinman pin was not available, after 1 year, a system of method of treating these injuries evolved, which I learned was called external fixation. Because at that time, during late 70s, when we trained, we were not at all taught about external fixation. We had never heard, never listened as to what external fixation was. It was only after 1 year of managing these cases, I learned that the system with which we are treating, the principle is called external fixation, though it was a different gadget. So friends, I will quickly go through. This is how they were being managed earlier. We started with whatever we were taught, plaster and pins and bucket handles. And, sometimes even we used wood because the wounds were very big. One day, even the wood pieces were not available. So I had to use a broken window latch like this in such a fracture. And this gave birth to, I created this myself, a metal bar, the iron rod, multiple perforated. And then finally, over a period of 1 year, a new system of equipment evolved. And this had only 2 parts, and I learned that this was called a principle of external fixation. We could, some design features, and we could create any configuration which was required in a given patient depending on the wound and fracture. This was the most common configuration. And then in my civilian practice as well, after coming back, I have been able to use it practically on any type of limb fracture, and I'll show you some examples. Quickly, I will go through the most common indication, open tibial fracture, how I used here. And these are all old x-rays, and hip fracture, open complex femur fracture. I will quickly run through this slide. Arthrodesis of knee, they are self-explanatory. Ankle injuries, everywhere we could use this, just one single bar. You can see the humerus non-union, the forearm open injuries, and the wrist fractures. Everywhere I could use it. And then in 1989, Professor Lord invited me to Mumbai to conduct a workshop on this during their Silver Jubilee meeting. And that is where, when I was conducting this, a gentleman came to me. He introduced himself. Dr. Agarwal, that was a very good work. I am Professor Kleinerman. Will you kindly like to come to Liverpool to join our course? Oh, I could not believe myself. That was a dream of every orthopedic surgeon at that time. So he went back, took my address. He asked me a card. I had no card. I wrote on a piece of paper, and he sent me all the details. He said, come and join our MCH course. I was so humbled again. And I wrote my thesis for that. He said, after that workshop, many other centers in the country also started using it. And this was the thesis I wrote for my MCH course, which was considered one of the best theses. And it was microfilmed. And it has been still preserved in the biggest medical library, the National Medical Library in London. It is preserved on a microfilm in that library. Friends, in UK, while I was working 2 major places, Liverpool and Hull, this fixator was used there also. And this fixator has found mention in JBJS, British volume, evolution of this system. We conducted huge number of studies on different aspects of external fixation. No other center in the world has conducted so many studies as we conducted. I cannot go into the details of those studies. Some of them are mentioned here. 1 or 2 I will talk about. First of all, common indication, open tibial fracture, and we showed that this was part of my thesis, that our results were better than any other result reported in literature at that time, managed by external fixation, open tibial fracture. Then Professor Kleinerman, he was so excited himself, he conducted a study on biomechanical properties of this fixator at the Royal Liverpool Hospital in the clinical engineering department, and he conducted, studied the biomechanical properties of this fixator and compared it with all other fixators being used in the world. and he found that this was unique. The biomechanical properties of this fixator were better than all the three combined. And this was then published in this journal by Professor Kleinerman. And then, one more study. This fixator was the first fixator made of aluminum in the whole world. And we showed to the world that what is the effect of weight on the results. Nobody else conducted this study, and we showed that how the less weight means better results and better union rates. Similarly, how should we reduce the fracture when we are doing external fixation? Nobody in the world has talked about this, and we have showed that it is not only desirable but obligatory to achieve anatomical reduction if we are using X-Fix as a definitive method. Another study, what should be the poster? At that time, Orthofix was very new, and Italians were popularizing it as a dynamic fixator. And we said, hang on, you don't need to dynamize the fixator, you need to dynamize the fracture. And we proved this. This study was part of another MCH thesis by Dr. Nand. Dr. Nand happened to be son of our ex-president of Indian Orthopedic Association from Kanpur, and he wrote this thesis for his MCH, and we showed to the world that biofeedback mechanisms are required to add, dynamization to the fracture, not the fixator. The fixator dynamization is unsafe. And this is the biofeedback mechanism. Complex fracture, stabilize early, good stability. As the fracture starts healing, take out the pins, reduce the stability, increase the weight bearing within tolerable limits of pain, and then final phase in functional cast. And with this method, biofeedback mechanism, a fracture like this could be converted to such a good union with callus by biofeedback mechanism. And people have presented it around the world, and orthopedic surgeons have been surprised by this, and this was also documented in the literature. Friends, this is another case study presented in International Orthopedics, largest study of femoral shaft fractures managed by X-Fix with excellent results, published in International Orthopedics with an American co-author. He was with us, and so many things happened with external fixation. Now I have to cut short it here. My next love was interlocking nailing. Friends, we all know no innovation or no advancement has impacted the practice of orthopedics and the fractures of long bone as interlocking nail. And it continues to do so. For more than 35 years, I've had a very great passion for interlocking nailing. And I have named this love affair as arranged marriage because it's very long lasting. During this association, we conducted many original studies, solved many problems which were unsolved before. And we also helped convert many controversies to consensus through our work and through the work of colleagues and group of people from within the country and outside the country. The first thing, 1993, I came back to India, started doing interlocking nail. There was huge opposition. Dr. Jagnesh Patel will know how the opposition is there to new techniques. Everybody, the director, the principal, the colleagues challenged me. They said, you are making the patient spend 1,000 on interlocking nail, 100 rupees K-nail gives equally good results. So first time in the world, we conducted a comparative study from the same center between Kunchar nail and interlocking nail. And obviously interlocking nail won hands down on every matrix. And after this, all those who opposed fell in line and started using this, and now the whole world is using it. Friends, whenever we start something new, there is opposition, we know this. Bilateral shattered femur we encountered early on. How do we restore the original length? Nobody knew. In 1993, we did a study which had cadaveric part and clinical part, and we created a lot of data, and after putting it to analysis, we proved and showed that distance between tip of olecranon and tip of little finger is equal to the length of femur. First time in the world. All around the country now this method is used, and also in many parts of the world, and this has also been published. Friends, proximal tibial fractures, complex proximal tibial fractures. We started managing them in 97, 28 years back. We started managing them with interlock nail. At that time, interlock nail was contraindicated in proximal tibial fractures. It was not suitable because there were many problems with the conventional nails. And we provided a solution to these problems. We proposed a protocol and we followed that. And we were the first centers in the world. And today we have the largest series in the world of proximal tibial fractures managed by interlocking nail. Here are some examples. And many other people are also doing it now. See how bad fracture, grade 3 open fracture managed by interlock nail and nicely united full function, such a bad fracture. and managed by interlock nail, very simple. And we have shown that this is probably the better than any other method. This has also found mention in Journal of Bone and Joint Surgery, the British volume. Friend, distal femur. 35 years back, they were considered very challenging cases, especially the open fractures. And we were the first center. I was the first surgeon, first in the UK, to do this procedure, distal femur nail. And then in India in 93, we used to get it from USA at that time. We were the first center. And today we have the largest series in the world of complex fractures of distal femur managed by distal femur nail, and proved that this is as good as any other method, and there are obvious advantages. It is quick, it is less traumatic, and gives excellent results. Friend, the biggest development that has happened to interlocking nail in our country is the formation of National Association of Interlocking Surgeons in 2001. I was very closely associated with the formation of this association along with other colleagues from the country in Indore, and I was the founder vice president, and then I became the president. And through the work of this group of orthopedic surgeons, we have been able to convert many controversies to consensus. We conducted even at our center variety of studies on all these aspects, which helped convert controversies to consensus. And Shiva sitting here is the flag bearer of this organization till date. And this is the only reason why we were able to take this technique to nook and corner, every nook and corner of the country, and train the surgeons all around the world as a team of nails. And I don't think in any other country, such an organization has helped spread the benefits of the one technique. And I will just finish about interlocking nailing by one case to show how it has impacted our practice. This is a polytrauma patient, fell from height into the well. This was a grade 3 open fracture, upper ulna. He had 5 vertebral fractures with 2 level fracture dislocations of the spine. Luckily, neurology was intact. It was also managed. Open fracture around the knee, proximal tibia and distal femur, and also fracture around the ankle ipsilateral. But what I'm going to talk is this femur fracture, pentafocal fracture. Neck femur fracture, this is a grade 3 fracture, upper third. Distal third, grade 3 fracture again. And there was a wound around the knee. This fracture was communicating with the knee, intercondylar fracture. And there is a trochanter fracture, standalone. So 5 level fractures in tibia. And how interlocking nail helped us salvage this condition wonderfully well. Just one procedure, one time, retrograde nail, intercondylar screws, tibia and distal femur, and then cannulated screw proximal tibia. No other procedure. 2 big wounds in the thigh, one anterior, one posterior, comminuted fractures, and just one procedure and every fracture healed with full return of function. I think, friends, modern interlocking nail has not only been a revelation, it has been a revolution, and it continues to be impacting our practice still date, and it will continue in future. Now my next love affair is the aging knee. Friends, I was very intrigued by aging knee from the very beginning. I used to think how we can relieve the pain in the knee joints of these patients with elderly, and my passion and my love for this subject has continued to increase as our understanding about the problem and the solutions have continued to evolve. So my passion has continued to increase. And I have called this, and it's going to continue. And I've called this love affair, Saath Jiyenge, Saath Marenge. The aging knee will never go away from me. Friends, when I learned total knee replacement about 35 years back, I was very excited. I thought I've got the final answer. I can relieve the pain of all patients in the knee. But then after about 10 years, I realized that there were some problems with this. The patients had some concern. And the patient concern were, how long this knee is going to last? They would ask me, will it be very painful? Will there be complication? Will I be worse than before? Then I thought, what is the patient dreaming about? Patient is dreaming about a knee so that all the problems, his or her problems can be solved. And I thought if we can offer this dream knee replacement to the patient, that will be the future. So what do we want to do in this dream knee replacement? 20 years back, I wrote that down, and I thought so. That it should last long, it should be painless procedure, that there should be zero complication. But at that time I asked myself, is this possible? It was not really possible 20 years back. So I thought, let me learn from my problems. Let me look at my needs, which I have done, and what are the problems I have come across and how I could have avoided them. So I studied my first 500 knees with minimum 5 to 20 year follow-up. And there were some problems. I looked at them, but there were very few, 3 to 4%. So I realized that I can't make evidence-based recommendation just on the basis of my experience only. I need to look at the whole world's experience. So I read about 5,000 articles on knee replacement at that time published in literature 20 years back. And I found answers to all these problems. I found how can we make the knee long-lasting. I found out how can we make the knee painless. And I found out how can we minimize the complication to almost zero. And I proposed this, and since 20 years, we are practicing that with wonderful results. So the long-lasting thing comes from tibia. It depends on the tibial component, what type of tibial component you use. There are 4 types of tibial components have been used till now, and all poly, the original, is the longest lasting. So now, 95% of my knees are all poly. There's a rebirth of all poly and reactivation. Similarly, we found answers to pain relief and complication, zero complication. So, on the basis of my experience and evidence in literature, we proposed a protocol which we have been following for 20 years, and with wonderful results. No computer, no robot. I thought, yes, it was possible. We need a traumatic technique. Good surgeon can do this without robot and without computer. We need all poly implant tibia. Painless procedure is through multimodal pain control. We do this today. And minimize the blood loss and avoid simultaneous TKR to reduce complication. Now, this could give us the best possible result. But was that enough? Now, after 20 years, that which I thought future is already past. Now, patients still have problems. Some of them are still unhappy. They still have loss of balance. So I thought, can we look beyond knee replacement? Can we find something else? And that is what I talked yesterday about. And what made me the next question that came to my mind few years back was, can we win this battle without firing a shot? Can we look beyond knee replacement, try to save original knee and still improve the quality of life? So I again read about 2,000 articles as I spoke yesterday, and I'll just not go into the details, but I'll just come to the summary. Now how are we managing these knees? Our knees, pain relief, supplements, and physiotherapy. Till we advised TKR, and we are very happy, and I really think this was a defeat of orthopedics, because for quite a few years we are just writing painkillers and supplements and physiotherapy. Many others think that it is a defeat of modern orthopedics. There are major drawbacks that I've realized: periprosthetic fracture, revision surgeries, all this I talked about yesterday, so I won't waste time today in talking about this. These are serious problems. Periprosthetic fracture means 1 year mortality up to 45% reported in literature. So we need to look beyond this. Unhappy total knee replacement. Many others in the world are thinking about this. 800-page book I came across 2 months back. So there are people, there are concerns about the unhappy knee replacement patients, and what can we do about this? 2 weeks back, an article in National Daily about the failing joint replacement and the concern expressed by various experts. So after I studied that, as I said yesterday, in summary we learned osteoarthritis knees not only due to aging and not just wear and tear of the cartilage. It is local manifestation of a systemic, slowly progressive, immune-mediated inflammatory process. Now, if it is a local manifestation of a systemic disease, our treatment has to be local and systemic. Local treatment has to be biological to target the inflammation, and mechanical treatment to target the malalignment and deformity. And systemic treatment, Dr. Mukherjee is here, I don't need to say anything. This low dose, low frequency DMARDs with mitigation of the side effects and comorbidities. And the future is still brighter, targeted therapy based on knee phenotypes, gene therapy, and even prevention will be possible. Lot of works, lot of clinical trials are underway around the world. And in next to 10 to 15 years, that is what all of us are going to practice. And this will help us save our sunset knees. I can't go into the details, I talked about it yesterday. Friends, I'll show you this patient again, maybe, who was on bed for 1 year, waiting for knee replacement, and anesthetist continuously refused to operate on her. She was not able to walk. For going to bathroom, she was using walker. And when I asked her to walk without walker, this is how she was hardly able to walk, afraid to fall with every step. And just after 6 weeks of local treatment, she's back to her activities of daily life, back to kitchen, no pain relieving medicine and systemic treatment. Mukherjee's miracle has still to come. So that is how it was. Friends, I'm going to talk about my last but not the least love has been teaching. I've really developed passion for teaching from the very first day, and that was again because of Professor Tuli and the environment in the department at Varanasi. And I have called this the unconditional love. This romantic link-up is my unconditional love. I've been able to teach and train postgraduates and residents at medical schools in India and outside India. From India, after my coming back, I have sponsored around 40 junior colleagues. There was nobody to sponsor me. So I thought my students should not have this disadvantage. I've sponsored around 40 junior colleagues to different parts of the world, and that was the type of rapport I could develop everywhere where I worked around the world. And, nobody single-handedly has sponsored so many junior colleagues around the world. Now, apart from this, I have traveled around the world. Practically all orthopedic conferences I've been invited, or I've delivered talks, conducted symposiums, workshops from South New Zealand to North, from South Korea to West USA, all around. I've had an opportunity to deliver talks and share experiences in an effort to advance the science and knowledge of orthopedics. I have also contributed in various forms in national and subspecialty associations. Our studies have been recognized at state level, zonal level, national level, and international level by being awarded as the best studies presented during those conferences, and this is the opportunity we got. Friends, what have been the lessons over these 5 decades? I will quickly go through them. I have learned that orthopedics is a dynamic science. Techniques and their indications continue to evolve as new methods are introduced, they come over the horizon. There is no doubt that technological advancements have provided tools that can improve clinical practice. But it is critical that surgeons and hospital administrations embrace these advancements responsibly, recognizing their limitation and avoiding their use solely for the sake of marketing, which has become a fashion and trend these days. Friends, I've always said, study principles rather than methods, because I've always believed a mind that grasps principles will devise its own methods depending on his circumstances, the requirements of his patients, and his conditions and facilities around them. So study principles. You will devise your own methods and you will lead them. What have been my regrets? Yes, a genuine regret is that I could not publish all the work that I did on all these subjects and many more. I wish I could have published more. There were some constraints, systemic constraints. Well, another regret, not really regret, but another thing that I did not do. The another thing I did not do is politics. Because I very soon realized, many people told me from time to time that why don't you fight the IOA election? I realized that indulging in this politics will not make me a better human being, nor will it make me a better orthopedic surgeon. So why should I waste my time and lose my credibility? Well, this has led many orthopedic friends to ask me, Dr. Agarwal, why have you not been able to get credit proportional to your work that you have been doing? What can I say? My answer to them is,
सब कुछ सीखा हमने ना सीखी होशियारी सच है दुनिया वालों के हम हैं अनाड़ी सब कुछ.
Friends, I cannot finish this talk without expressing gratitude to few people at least who have been responsible for my journey in orthopedics, because of whom I have enjoyed this journey, because of whom I have fell in love with orthopedics. And I will remain ever grateful to them. The first and foremost amongst them has been Dr. Tuli. The ideal human being, ideal teacher, ideal husband, ideal father, ideal mentor, and ideal friend. I've always said all around the world, Guru Gobind doe khade, kaake lagu paye, balihari Guru aapke, jo Gobind diyo dikhaye. I'm sure we are all familiar with Kabir's couplet. Now, when I went abroad, there were a couple of people, starting with Professor Kleinerman. He set the tone, not only for my training, but also for my work within the UK and outside the UK. So I will remain ever grateful to him. And then my first consultant, Mr. Karpinski, who continues to be a wonderful friend, who has visited me many times, he showed me how to put the knife on the patient, how to be atraumatic in your techniques, how to get best results without injuring the soft tissues, without harming the soft tissues, and by maintaining the intramuscular and soft tissue planes. And I will be grateful to him. Last but not the least, I cannot finish this talk without expressing my gratitude to a person who has been like a rock, stood with me through all thick and thin, and ensured that I am comfortable while I enjoy the journey of orthopedics. And that has been the biggest treasure of my life. And this is my wife. This is the picture taken during our honeymoon. And that is when our journey started. And this enjoyable, children have come and gone, but this enjoyable journey continues till date, and we hope to enjoy many more years. Thank you very much.
Please go on the stage. Please go on the stage.